East and West, all tribes are united. We're not pressuring any tribe or any person. We see that the priority is to put an end to the bloodshed. We ask this of Muammar al-Gaddafi, Europe and the United States. Otherwise, we will be forced to stop oil production tomorrow.
And the events in Libya pushing oil prices higher. In New York, crude for March delivery is up by around $1.70 a barrel. Turning to protests elsewhere in the region now, anti-government demonstrators in Bahrain are waking up in their camp in the capital, Manama. Hundreds of people spent the night in the Pearl roundabout after the government ordered the military to withdraw from the area. James Bays reports on what next for the protesters.
They are determined to make this a permanent place of protest. A day after the army and police withdrew, the area around Pearl Roundabout has become a tented city with free food, water and electricity. The protesters are pitching camp and they say they won't leave until they get what they want.
Zain al-Abidin down, Mubarak down, Al-Khalifa down, down, down.
Can the king make political concessions, or is it too late?
It is too late now. Now people, you can hear them. They want to change all the government. They want a new government. They want to choose by themselves. They want election.
The Bahrain government says it's opening a dialogue with the people.
I am not one of those who would ask you to forget about your interests. So an important part of our future work is to be in touch. As for today, we do not know what form or shape the national dialogue, which we all would agree with, would be. We have to have a consensus on it.
But one opposition politician visiting the roundabout was told very clearly he should not enter into any negotiations. A politician who talks to the royal family, he was told, has the blood of those who died on his hands.
As you see, the changes here are dramatic changes. You cannot expect what will happen. Of course, the initiatives from the youth here will not stop.
There seems to be a disconnect between the opposition politicians and the views of these people. They say they don't want this government at all, and many say they want the king to leave the country. James Bays, AlJazeera, Bahrain.
Tunisia's government has officially asked Saudi Arabia to extradite deposed President Zine El Abidine Ben Ali. He is accused of crimes surrounding last month's violent crackdown on protesters. And Tunisian television has released pictures of treasures hidden around President Ben Ali's palace. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash and diamonds were hidden in a secret stash, including vaults behind a large bookcase. Earlier, thousands of people demonstrated in Tunis, calling for the resignation of Mohamed Ghannouchi's transitional government. Foreign ministers from the European Union have been meeting to discuss the protests across the Arab world. The working dinner was chaired by the EU's foreign policy chief, Catherine Ashton, who will fly to Egypt for talks next week. She'll be the first foreign diplomat to visit the country since the fall of Hosni Mubarak. She said that she was concerned over the continuing violence in Libya.
Really worried about what's happening in Libya at the present time. We've been urging restraint. We continue to do so. It's very important. You'll have heard it, I think, from all the foreign ministers coming in that you've asked tonight. It's very, very important that this violence stops and they move to dialogue.
Toasting victory in Germany. The champagne's flowing for the opposition as the country's ruling party receives a drubbing in the regional elections. We'll have more on that in a moment. Plus, the cracks are showing how Chinese farmers are being urged to dig wells to overcome the worst drought in 200 years.
Business Latest is brought to you by Capco in just about everything. Business Latest is brought to you by Capco in just about everything.
Afghanistan is faced with a huge challenge.
Relations have gone really sour between us and our allies.
We have inflicted considerable damage on the enemy.
The people who make international headlines.
Ultimately, the truth will out.
They want to stop this publication of information that embarrasses them.
Make time for Sir David Frost. Frost over the world. At this time on Al Jazeera.
Welcome back. The top story on Al Jazeera. Pro-reform unrest in Libya has spread to the capital, Tripoli, and protesters in Benghazi are now claiming to be in control of the eastern city. Muammar Gaddafi's son, Saif al-Islam, has appeared on state television warning of civil war and declaring that his father was in charge with the army's backing.
The leader, Muammar Gaddafi, is leading the battle, and armed forces are with him, and tens of thousands are coming to Tripoli in his support. We will not give up Libya. We will fight until the last man, the last woman, until the last bit of energy.
Michael Singh is a former senior director for Middle East Affairs at the U.S. National Security Council. He's currently a visiting fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. I asked him earlier if Saif al-Islam's reaction was expected.
Well, I think for now, yes, it is the type of response you'd expect. I mean, clearly the reaction internally to Saif al-Islam Gaddafi's speech is going to be negative. It was a harsh speech. It was a negative response to the protesters. You know, it's one thing when someone like Winston Churchill says he's going to fight to the last man. Another thing when it's a dictatorial regime talking about its own people. So it will be a negative response. However, it is a holiday weekend in Washington. There does need to be a meeting of policymakers to decide how are we going to respond. I'm sure that the embassy and officials in Washington will be reaching out to Saif al-Islam to press him on exactly what are you promising here? What is the Libyan regime going to deliver? And so I think for now the comments are tentative, but I expect as this progresses and especially tomorrow morning in Washington, you'll see stronger, more definitive comments.
The sole surviving gunman of the 2008 Mumbai attacks will hear later Monday if his death sentence has been lifted. Mohammed Ajmal Amir Kassab was found guilty in May for his part in a wave of attacks which killed 166 people and injured more than 300 others. But his lawyers appeal